Okay, so now I've got the New York Giants depth chart up here, so I'll kind of go through it, get my thoughts on the roster, and just each position group and this is the team as a whole. So when I reload this, the first position group, receiver position, pretty strong for the Giants. They brought in Kenny Golladay from the Lions, very good receiver, good possession, jump ball receiver. Not really a burner, that's not his play. But red zone, big threat, will just go up and get the ball like most of the time. That's a very good receiver. He's gonna be their number one, and I really like that. Darius Slayton is a deep threat, it's pretty decent, so that's all right. Maybe, I mean, he could start on the other outside position. Like they got some versatile players. He probably would start on the outside straight away. That's what I would assume would happen. I'm not sure if Kadarius Toney starts straight away. I think I kind of see him as maybe being the fourth receiver for the first year, and then second year stepping in and being that next receiver. They also got John Ross to kind of be a backup deep threat. Hopefully revitalize his career, but they're quite deep at receiver, so I'm not sure about that. Sterling Shepard, he's probably their slot receiver. He's definitely not lived up to how good people thought he would be, but he's still a decent slot receiver, so he's a pretty reliable target. And then you also got Kadarius Toney, who they drafted. I like Kadarius Toney as a player. I don't know how much playing time he gets straight away. If he even is the fourth receiver, he could still get some good snaps, like coming for like underneath plays and like jet sweeps and stuff. He'll be very good at. He's very good at breaking tackles. Dante Pettis, kind of a bust really, but he's not a complete bust because he still makes plays. So that's an all right receiver. They got some other players like C.J. Board, Davis Sills. They'll probably make the roster. Calvin Benjamin they brought in to be a tight end supposedly. I'm not even sure if he makes the roster, so I'm not sure about that. Although he probably is better at tight end than a receiver. And then the offensive line, Andrew Thomas left tackle. Yeah, he could start straight away. They also got Nate Solder. It's going to be pretty confusing what they do. Maybe they move Andrew Thomas into tackle. Into guard. I would like them to keep Andrew Thomas at tackle for next year because I still think he can be a good tackle. It's a very hard position to transition to the NFL. You usually need more than 1 year unless you're like Tristan Wirfs or something who just had an amazing year. He got better near the end of the season also, so I don't think you really want to start an old Nate Solder who's just not really that good anymore. It's like just kind of ruin his development. You don't really want to start him at guard, so I'd keep him at tackle and then just have Nate Solder as a backup if injuries happen, to be honest. Or you could start at right tackle Nate Solder, but I doubt that happens. It's more of a left tackle. And at right tackle, they got Matt Peart, who was pretty good last year, like pretty surprisingly good. So maybe they just roll with the two young players. I think that'd be a good idea. The interior offensive line is kind of where it isn't as good. Like Shane Lemieux was not good last year, pretty much. He's still a young player. That was a rookie, so maybe you can just kind of give him that excuse. But he was not good. Center, Nick Gates was actually pretty decent last year for the center, and it was like his first year playing center, I think. It was either the first or second year. So he'd probably still start there, so that's pretty decent. Wilhernandez, he's an alright guard. He had a bit of a down year, but he's still a young player. They got Zach Fulton also. They brought in. He could maybe play over Shane Lemieux because straight away Zach Fulton's probably a better player. I think that'd be a good idea to start Wilhernandez and Zach Fulton. Maybe you can have Hernandez play the left guard and Fulton at right guard. But Fulton's pretty versatile and he's still like a decent veteran. So that's not a bad player. Probably better than Shane Lemieux straight away, both of those players. Tight end position, they brought in Kyle Rudolph. That gives them a good like red zone weapon that they kind of really needed. Like they got Kenny Golladay and Kyle Rudolph now, who are like very good in the red zone. Before then, they didn't really have anybody. Like Evan Engram wasn't really going to be your like red zone threat. None of their receivers like Sterling Shepard, they're kind of short at the position with like size. So they get Kenny Golladay and Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph offers that veteranship also. I think he could have a pretty decent role in that second tight end. With Evan Engram, their first tight end, really good receiving threat. kind of unreliable at points. I can't believe he got into the freaking Pro Bowl last year. That was just stupid. He's not an amazing tight end, but he's still pretty talented and just a really good athlete. And the backups, they got two pretty decent backups, Devante Downs and Caden Smith, more run stoppers. Caden Smith more of a pass catcher, but Devante Downs primarily just a run blocker. He's very good at that, though. So they got some pretty decent backups. And then the quarterback position, Daniel Jones, of course. They're kind of hoping for him to take a step up, and he's kind of got all the players around him to do that. Maybe you could blame the offensive line if they play badly to like him maybe not playing well next year. But I still think their offensive line is not horrible. So, I mean, if Daniel Jones doesn't take a step up this year, I think he's probably out, which would be very unfortunate because I do quite like Daniel Jones. I still think he can be a good quarterback. I think he could be good next year. So I'm alright with Daniel Jones starting at quarterback. He's not like, I don't think he's ever going to really be an elite, like top 5 quarterback, but I still think he could be a serviceable middle of the pack quarterback and get you wins. And I also got Mike Glennon to back him up. That's a pretty good veteran backup. I don't know if Daniel Jones is really suffering. You got Mike Glennon, maybe put him in. He can probably give you some decent play. And running back, Saquon Barkley, of course, coming back from injury. You hope he can maybe have a breakout type year like his first season. Played to that level, maybe better. Because last year, of course, the injury and the offensive line was really bad. The offensive line is a bit better this year. So maybe you see Saquon Barkley kind of play like a top 5 running back. I would really like that. But he's a very good running back, so that's a good position for them. They also got Devontae Booker, who they brought in. That's a pretty decent backup. Probably more of a third running back, but they got some other players that could probably step into that role. He's still alright, like especially if Saquon gets injured, they got some depth, so that's fine. Like Elijah Penny's more of a fullback, really. Like, he could play running back, I guess. This thing's dumb. Ryquell Armstead, who they like claimed off of waivers, I think, from the Jags who cut him. That's a pretty decent young player. So maybe he makes the roster. They did draft Corey Brightwell, so you can maybe see him get I mean, he's probably going to make the roster, maybe as their 3rd, 4th running back, probably 4th. We'll see with him. He's a pretty like explosive running back. I think he'd be a good compliment to Saquon Barkley. So I did like that. Also, Corey Clement's a pretty decent backup. So that's pretty good for them. And Sandro Platzgummer, the German. No, he's Austria, I think. I think he's Austrian. Probably just a practice squatter. Might get cut. Taquan Mizzo was on the Saints. That's the only reason I know him. Colin Giuseppe, Gillespie, whatever, I can't remember his name. He was on the Texans. That's a pretty decent fullback. And then going on to the defense, defensive line, pretty solid. Leonard Williams, they haven't listed defensive tackle. He kind of plays defensive tackle and end. He's got more of the size to play defensive tackle, but he's very versatile, so he kind of plays both of those positions. Same with BJ Hill, who they use in some different ways. Like, they used him at nose tackle at points and defensive tackle. Pretty decent pass rushing defensive tackle. You maybe see him get some more snaps this year. At the nose tackle position, they got Austin Johnson, Danny Shelton. Danny Shelton probably be the starter for them. Probably not Austin Johnson. He's not an amazing player. But Danny Shelton still a pretty decent run stopper. Doesn't offer you like anything in the pass rush game. Maybe can luckily get like a sack or 2 a season. That's like at best. But he will help your run defense. So I think the run defense could be good. Like Leonard Williams, Danny Shelton, and then Dexter Lawrence also very good run stopper. All of them. They're also very big players. They don't really got like small people on their defensive line, but they've got really good athletes. Like all these players, really good athlete. Dexter Lawrence, good young player. I think he could have a breakout year. They got Ellison Smith listed at defensive end. He's probably more of an outside linebacker. He's not a massive player, so it's probably not his position, but he could get some playing time. I don't know how much he gets because he's a very raw player. Division 2, of course. He'll probably just be a really good special teamer straight away and maybe get in for some snaps, like sub packages, but I doubt it. They also got Azeez Ojulari. He's pretty decent. I did like that draft pick at the time in the 2nd round. Also good scheme fit. If he's healthy... Oh my god, something in my throat. But supposedly fell for like an injury. So I think he could be a very good pass rusher. He could be very good in the system also. He's got good players around him. he could be an impact straight away. They also got Fede Odenigbo, who's a pretty decent pickup for Minnesota, kind of a breakout year. So that's another good depth player. Maybe starts over Aziz straight away, but I think Aziz could definitely get some pretty good playing time. Ryan Anderson's a pretty good rotational player. Same with Ellison Smith, who maybe you see get some more snaps there. Carter Coughlin's pretty decent as a rotational player, kind of more of a linebacker. And then the linebacker position, Blake Martinez, good run stopper. Not in the passing game, like he will not be good covering anybody pretty much, downfield especially, but he's a good run stopper. He was pretty decent last year, and we'll just get a ton of tackles like he always does. Lorenzo Carter, he's more of a outside linebacker, probably rush to pass at points. Like they got a bunch of pass rushers, man, like quite a lot. So there's gonna be some people that are just gonna get buried down the depth, or maybe see some of these guys be like surprising cuts. Like we'll just have to see, but because they've got a ton of depth. I mean, Tay Crowder can maybe be their second linebacker. He was pretty decent last year for the last pick in the draft. He's not an amazing athlete, but he's still pretty decent. Like their linebacker position besides Blake Martinez isn't looking amazing. Reggie Ragland, kind of an old veteran who's just not good in coverage either. So I don't know how good their coverage game will be in next year with those kind of players they got. Tay Crowder's alright. Devante Downs, TJ Brunson. One of these dudes is probably going to have to take a step up, so we'll see what happens there. They do need another linebacker. I thought they could have addressed that at some point in free agency or the draft. They just didn't do it, so maybe they like somebody who's there. We'll just have to see. And then cornerback, James Bradbury, very solid corner. Had a very good year last year, so I think you're pretty confident of him starting there. Adoree Jackson, who they brought in, he'd probably start at the other outside position. He's pretty versatile, though. Could maybe play the slot. Doubt it. Probably Adoree Jackson and James Bradbury on the outside. I think that's a very good pairing. And then, I mean, there's probably going to be a battle for that slot position. Like, they got Darnay Holmes, Aaron Robinson. I do like Darnay Holmes. I think he's a pretty decent player. Like, they didn't really need to draft Aaron Robinson because I did like who they already had at corner. I mean, Aaron Robinson, he's a very good slot corner prospect, so maybe see Aaron Robinson take that slot position this year. Could be Darnay Holmes. I think it's probably Aaron Robinson because I think Aaron Robinson is a better prospect coming out, even though I still like Darnay Holmes. And Logan Ryan, he's also a slot corner pretty much, not really a free safety. Could definitely play. He played some free safety last year. He's more of a slot corner, so, I mean, they just got so much players, it's so confusing who's actually going to start at that slot corner. They'll start with Leonard Williams. He's more of an outside corner who they picked up. That's a pretty good player. Did like that for some depth. Isaac Yiadom, another good depth player. Same with Quincy Wilson. Like they've got good depth in that secondary. Xavier McKinney can also play the slot. I think he probably just plays that free safety next year because he's pretty talented. Jabril Peppers kind of locked into that strong safety role. He's kind of plays more in the box. He's good at that. And Julian Love, he also has some experience at corner. That's what he started off at, moved to safety, and he'll actually look pretty decent. So he'd probably come in as that third safety. I mean, I don't really know what they're going to do that slot corner. Very confusing. Like, they got a ton of players. So, I mean, maybe they just rotate in players. We'll just have to see because Logan Ryan, Darnay Holmes, Aaron Robinson, all really slot corners. Even Xavier McKinney, like that's like 5 players battling for that spot. I don't really know what they're doing, but I mean, Aaron Robinson can't really play on the outside. He's just a slot, really. And then special teams, Riley Dixon's a decent punter. Graham Goodnow was pretty good last year. Kick returner, I mean, with the players I have listed are just like probably not going to be their kick returners. Like Darius Slayton could definitely, I think Kadarius Toney could probably be their punt returner and kick returner. He's very good at that. Probably more of a punt returner. I think he starts at punt return straight away, or John Ross, because they're 2 really good players. Maybe John Ross kick return, Kadarius Toney punt return. Either of those dudes I think would probably start at that position on special teams. So, I mean, that was the Giants, the New York Giants. I mean, they could definitely be in the running for the winning the NFC East next year. Just kind of depends on quarterback play from Daniel Jones, if the offensive line is good, I mean, I think their weapons are good. Their secondary is good. I mean, their defense as a whole is good besides the linebacker position. They've got a solid defensive line on the offense, good running back group and receiver group. So I like it. It just kind of the defensive line and linebacker position will have to eat. So they're not that bad. I mean, Daniel Jones hopefully takes a step up. So hopefully the Giants, they're good next year. I think that's probably the expectation that they'll be pretty decent. They're not going to be amazing. When they come against good teams, they will probably lose. They can maybe get some upsets. But then maybe against like the average teams, they'll probably beat them. So get well.